You hear that? It's like baby.
I hear you.
Zion.
What up?
Hey, look, bro. I already knew I was going to room, boy. But you had one, bro. You got one.
That's love right there.
Real, boy. Everybody go through rainy night. The world gonna feel this one, little bro. You hear that?
Rainy nights.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Purpose Over Pain. I'm your host, Harry L. Williams II. Thank you for being with us this morning. I want, first of all, just tell you, as always, we thank God for each and every one of you for subscribing, for liking, for telling your friends. Make sure you continue to like and subscribe and share. God is doing some amazing things with this podcast, and we thank you for making this podcast a success. We couldn't do it without you, but we do need you to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Talk about this podcast, because one of these days you'll be one of our guests, and we just thank you for just being a blessing to us. I'm happy. I'm excited. I got my friend in the building, Maurice Miller. Y'all put your hands together for Maurice Miller. Hey, what's going on, Maurice? How you doing today, man?
How you doing, Pastor?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Glad to see you, man. How
Glad
you
to
doing,
see you
man?
too,
I love
for
you,
sure.
man. Good seeing you, man. Thank you for coming and share with us, man. This Purpose Over Pain podcast, man. And God's been doing some amazing thing, man. How your family doing? Everybody good?
Everybody is great.
Everybody's good. Everybody's good. Man, it's
How
good seeing you,
about
man. You don't mess
yours?
with us that much too much.
Oh, man. I knew
but
this
you know
was
what I'm
gonna
saying?
happen.
I remember,
I knew
man,
this
you don't
was
mess with us no more, man. You know what I mean? I remember when you first came to town, man. You know what I mean? I remember you first came to town, man. I first met you, man.
Yes, sir.
You don't put us down. You're a superstar now. You put us down, but it's glad to get you in the building. I ain't have to go through no managers or nothing. Thank God I ran to you in the store.
This the hot seat, huh?
Yeah, this the hot seat, man. You know how it go. Yeah, man. So I'm glad you're in the building, man. What you been up to, man?
Just grinding, man, working, man. Groom therapy, the family, the kids, just life, man. Life.
Groom therapy, huh?
Yes, sir. Groom therapy.
Groom therapy. That's your barbershop, right?
Yes, sir.
It ain't just a barbershop.
No,
it's
sir.
an experience, right?
It's actually a spa for men right here in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
We do manis, pedis, facials, massage, and haircuts.
Man.
It's a complete and total experience.
Y'all do massages in there?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes,
man,
sir.
I know y'all was doing massages in there. I gotta come over there and get gotta come over there and get some of that.
Yes,
man.
sir. We've been doing it for about 7 years now.
7 years.
We're in our 7th year right now.
Well, praise God.
Yeah,
Hey, the
yes,
Bible
sir.
say despise not small beginnings.
I know that's right.
Yeah. So how the family, man? How the kids, man?
Well,
Kids
everybody's
good?
doing good. My daughter, she's over in school at Grand Canyon University up in Arizona.
Shout out.
My son is working right here in Jacksonville. My other son Joshua, he's a junior, gonna be a senior next year over at A. Philip Randolph.
Yeah.
And my youngest son, he's doing good, just
Doing
kind of
good.
hanging
Just
out.
Your youngest son, how old is your youngest son?
He's 9.
9 years old.
Yeah, he's
Oh, wow.
9. He'll be 10 in
Wow, you got a
in
little team
November.
now, buddy. You got a little team.
Yeah, I got a squad. Yeah, when you met me, I ain't had but 3.
Yeah, you had but 3. You got 23 now.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding, man. But thank you, man. I thank you, man, for sharing with us, man. Just want to, for a few minutes, man, give us some of your background, man, where you come from, where you've been, where you were raised, how you end up coming to Jacksonville, all that stuff.
Okay.
Man.
So I'm originally, I was born in Virginia, military family.
Okay.
Mom and dad both military. I was raised in Gary, Indiana, up until the age about 13. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and Washington D.C. with my dad. We floated between Washington D.C. and Atlanta, Georgia, because he was in the Navy at the time.
Yeah.
Got a little older, went back home, stayed with my mom. Where I graduated from school up in Indiana, in Maryville, Indiana, right outside of Gary, Indiana. Eventually, got in a little trouble early on in my life. Lost my baseball scholarship. Ended up going to the military. Was in the military for about 10 years. Ended up here in about 2007 when Joshua was born. Was stationed over at Mayport. And shoot, I've been here ever since then.
That's when you was the motorcycle man.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, the motorcycle stayed off Mayport.
Yeah, I
Forgot
stayed
about
off Mayport. I
Yeah.
had a motorcycle. You correct?
that.
That's when I had made my decision. It was like I never forget it. It was Christmas Day, 2009 Christmas Day. I woke up, and when I stayed off of Mayport, I woke up and I saw the palm trees swaying, and I called my mom that day, and I said, "Man, I ain't never leaving here,
I
man.
ain't never leaving.
Uh-uh.
Palm trees. Something about that Florida, baby.
Something about that Florida, man."
Something about that Florida. Then you had to move from over there and come on across the
Yeah,
bridge.
yeah,
You had to
and
move-
I found my way out east.
How you ended up at Mayport anyway?
Man, because I was
You was
stationed.
military. Okay,
Yeah, I
you
was in the military. I was stationed
Okay,
out in
then.
Mayport. Yep,
Okay,
I
then.
stationed out in Mayport. I had an apartment over here on the south side, and I wanted to get closer to the base.
Okay.
You know, because I got tired of dealing with that traffic, trying to get over into Mayport. So I ended up getting an apartment over off of Mayport Road. It was a lot cheaper back then.
Yeah, of course.
And
course.
so just stayed over there, man.
Yeah.
You know,
And then you
just-
messed around and ventured and came across the bridge. That was
yeah,
it.
because
a
of
whole
you,
nother world.
because of you, because of you, because of you.
I did a bad job. I got you over the bridge,
Yeah,
man.
you
Then you
did.
left me.
You
Ain't that
did.
something? I got you over the bridge and you left me, man. Yeah, man. But thank you, man, for that background.
Yes,
so
sir.
you came from. So you say it was your mom, your dad, any siblings? How many siblings?
So I have two sisters.
Okay, you got two sisters.
I got two sisters. I have an older sister named Tandramika, and I have a younger sister named Chiffon.
Okay, so you was
Yeah.
in the middle.
Yes, I'm the middle child, the
You're
only
the middle.
boy.
Are they still in Indiana? Are you-
No, so my older sister, she actually is an informatics nurse, and she lives here in Jacksonville.
Okay.
She's in Anchorage, Alaska, working. And my little sister, she's in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
She's a school teacher in Atlanta,
ATL. Shout out to ATL.
Yeah,
Man. Well, thank you, man, for that. Listen, man, I always, try to start this podcast off, man. The name of the podcast, you already know, Purpose Over Pain. And I always say all of us have, painful moments in our life.
Okay.
Every last one of us have painful moments. Some of us have so many we don't want to talk about, but we do have them. I think that those painful moments help shape who we are today.
Sure.
And just looking back in your life, man, like what was the first of all, when you hear that that phrase, purpose over pain, like what does that mean to you? Purpose over pain.
Man, purpose over pain to me, it means sacrificing to get to where you want to go to.
Okay.
It means the grind, putting in the work, no matter what.
Yeah.
To be successful in whatever it is that you want to be successful in.
That's right.
Or whatever you determine success.
Right. That's right.
That's what it means to me.
Okay. I love that. I love what you say, the putting in the sacrifice, and some people don't really know that's what they're doing at that moment, right?
Right.
Some folks, they don't necessarily understand the pain aspects of it.
Right.
They don't understand that in order for me to move to my purpose, there has to be some pain that has to go. And I believe that just like the scripture said, he said it was good that I was afflicted that I may learn. And so a lot of us, especially when we're young, we don't really understand that pain. We look at it because we're looking at it through immature eyes. We're looking at it through, the kids' eyes, and they don't see. But as you get older and you start seeing what that pain produce, that's when things start changing for you. Right. So your first experience of like pain, can you remember like what your first experience of pain that you recognized?
Yeah, actually it's weird that you say that. Cause I was kind of like diving into that knowing that I was coming on this podcast. Yeah. But yeah, I can actually remember my first experience with pain. My first experience with pain was I was about I had to be about 7 or 8. My dad actually, me and my sister, my older sister, we were going to Virginia. My dad lived in Virginia at the time, and we lived in Indiana. And we were going to Virginia, and I can vividly remember my mom packing our bags to go on vacation to see my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And we were gonna fly to Virginia to see my dad. And this was like normal, something we had done before. But this time we got all the way to the airport in Chicago, Illinois, and we lived in Gary, Indiana. So the airport was about an hour and a half away. So we get to the airport, and this is back when they didn't have, you couldn't check in on your phone. So this is like the early 90s, the late 80s, early 90s, where you couldn't check in your phone. You had to go up to the counter and get your ticket and all that other stuff. So I can remember my mom going to the counter with me and my sister. She had our luggage and everything. And she tries to get our tickets to get on a flight. And the lady's like, you guys don't have a flight. You know, y'all don't have I can't find them to
check y'all in.
To check us in, right? So I can remember my mom. I can vividly remember my mom's face. You know, she turned around and told us, well, y'all don't, like, your dad didn't, I'm tired of what your dad is doing. And, and it just, I could remember how it felt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Her telling us all this stuff, negative stuff about my dad and, the situation and, we're not going. You got to think as an 8-year-old kid, like you're hyped, you know what I'm saying?
You're hyped to go.
You're excited to go.
Yeah.
You're going on a trip. You're going to Virginia. I hadn't seen my dad in a long time.
So your mom, your dad was
they were separate.
Okay.
Yeah, they were separated.
Okay.
So it was kind of like a tumultuous relationship with them two. And I could vividly remember that day.
Wow.
It was a couple days before Christmas, and I can remember that day. And I can remember my mom, because of course they had cell phones, but I didn't come from a background where we could afford them.
Oh yeah.
So I can remember my mom driving all the way back to because we lived with my grandmother at the time, and I can remember my mom driving all the way back from driving all the way back from Chicago to Gary, and
it was thick in that car, huh?
Taken out, yeah, man. It was bad. My sister was crying because she didn't know what was going on. I was crying because I didn't know what was going on. My mom was crying and she was driving us back, and then I remember her getting on the phone with my dad and them going back and forth.
You hearing?
Them
can't
fussing.
hear your dad, but you hear your mom.
Yeah, I can hear my mom. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying, and I can hear the anger in her voice. About like how embarrassing that was and how you don't give a. You know what I'm saying, about your kids, and you don't care about them, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it stuck with me for a long time.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
So did that conversation stuck with you, or did that moment in that relationship between your mother and your father, did it produce? Can you think about like what did it start producing? Was there something start crowning at that moment?
So it was anger with my father.
It was anger with your dad.
You know what I'm saying? It was anger with my dad.
Yeah.
And
those relationships, and that happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because whether you're with your mother, whether you're with your father,
right.
You know what I mean? And then, whoever you're with, sometimes you're gonna pretty much lean towards.
Right, for sure.
Lean towards what they're saying.
For
because
sure.
Because in your mind, that's who care about me.
That's who
I'm with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so did you see that happening in you?
So I did.
Yeah.
I essentially I did. I also went through a situation with my dad where my aunt Marcy, she's my favorite aunt in the world.
Shout out to Aunt Marcy.
Yeah, she's my favorite aunt. She actually, her and my dad had a pretty good working relationship. She's my mom's older sister. So we would stay as kids. We would go over to my Aunt Marcy's house.
So she was the mediator, pretty much.
She was the mediator.
Yeah.
So we would go to my Aunt Marcy's house, and my dad would drive from Virginia to at like night, in the darkness of night, he would like pop up, and my Aunt Marcy would be like, "Hey, your dad's outside." She'd wake us up in the middle of the night and be like, "Hey, your dad's outside. You need to go outside and talk to him."
Yeah.
I could remember these things.
Wow.
Because my mom and my dad, they didn't.
Yeah. Way to communicate.
Right, they didn't communicate. So I could
too much stuff going on between them.
Right, so I could remember that. Or I could remember going to my Aunt Marcy's house on the weekend, and I walk in the door and my dad is sitting there on the couch.
Yeah.
And my mom doesn't even know he's in town.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or my mom goes on vacation and my dad just pops up.
Wow. Were you happy to see him when he came? Or
well,
was it mixed?
At that time, it was kind of like weird. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like...
You was betraying your mom? Did you ever feel like you was betraying your mom?
I felt like, dang, I'm betraying my mom. But why doesn't she know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you're a kid, you can't figure all that out.
Right.
You just know that all of this is weird.
Right. It was just an awkward, you know what I'm saying? It was an awkward feeling. And then when mom came home, it was like, the thing was like, oh yeah, you can't tell her you
Can't
saw
tell her.
me.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And my auntie was like, you know, don't
That's a
tell
lot
her,
of-
don't tell
them
her.
that.
Yeah, don't
You
tell
put them in
her.
the bad spot.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you know how your mom gets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So
And-
it's now you stuck between
Right.
who should I betray?
Right.
Should I be
Right.
on my daddy's side? Should I
Right.
be on my
Right.
mama's side?
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
then your
Right.
auntie, you know,
Right.
she in the middle. She
Right,
already
she
in the middle.
but she
But
don't.
that's her sister.
That's her sister, and you know she understands that you know my uncle Bill, her ex-husband, God rest his soul, he was like my dad. You know what I'm saying? Like he was my first experience with a male figure being in the home, other than my grandfather.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like he raised my cousin. So that was like my dad. That was my envision of a dad until I got a stepfather.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you know, so like that was like she didn't want to tank that relationship for me to be able to still have an active parent, an active male figure in my life.
Yeah,
you know
of course. Because I do think that it's I think it's the parental parent responsibility to put their kid around what they need.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So if you're a father that have daughters, I think that his responsibility to put his daughters around women.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
vice versa. I
Right.
think it's the mother's responsibility. If she have sons, it's her responsibility to put that boy around men.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean men that's going to be great role models
For
to 'em.
sure. For
But
sure.
they need to have interaction with
For sure.
men.
For
You know what I
sure.
mean?
For sure.
And so during this time when you were going through this relationship with your father, your biological father, as you was coming up, was there anything that you can remember in your mind, like, okay, then when I get older, I'm gonna be this way. I'm not gonna be this way.
Definitely. So when I got about when I hit the age of about what grade was I in? Let me think for a second.
Man, you're only 23 years old, man. Come on.
So I had to been in the 4th grade.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
My mom was married to my stepfather.
You got a good
by
memory
then.
too, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah. I had to be about it. I could remember this. I was in the 4th grade and I got in trouble in school. And I got in trouble for lying in school. My stepfather was a police officer, Gary police officer. And I had told my teacher that my stepfather had got shot.
Wow.
Right. And he had got hurt. Right. So obviously, you know, condolences and all that other stuff.
Of course, went out.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Went out. And I didn't know no better.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew better about lying, but I didn't know no better. I didn't think it was gonna get that far.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And it did. So my stepfather came to the school.
Of course, you shot.
Yeah. He came to the school.
That wasn't minor. That's
I didn't know though.
Yeah, you don't know.
So he came to the school.
Yeah.
And Miss Cameron, I'll never forget her name. Miss Cameron, she was my favorite school teacher. Miss Cameron, she was like, "Oh, you had a miraculous recovery."
A supernatural.
You had a miraculous recovery. I'm so glad to see you, Mr. Strong.
Yeah.
And so, needless to say, I got it. You know, that was back when you could beat your kids in front of his classmates.
You got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Whoa, Jesus, I got it. So, you know, and then at that moment in my life, I didn't understand. I didn't understand the dynamic of what I was doing.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand the dynamic of what I was doing. And the same token, I was yearning for my father, my father.
That's what I was gonna get to.
You know what I'm saying? I was yearning for my father. So at that moment when I got a spanking, and it was embarrassment, you know, and everything else.
Of course.
I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna do that again. I'm never gonna treat my kid like that, and you know what I'm saying? And then that's when my relationship with my stepfather kind of fractured at that point and it was my fault.
Yeah.
But as a child,
you don't understand.
You don't understand.
Yeah. All you know is, hey, you done beat me in front of my peers.
Right.
I'm embarrassed.
Right.
They're gonna mess
right.
with me.
And they messed with me for a long time about it.
And just like, and to your point, just like you didn't understand what you were doing, sometimes when it comes to parenting, parents don't think about what they're doing at that moment.
It's no handbook.
You know what I
to
mean?
it.
They, because they just being parents. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, you gonna lie? And when we was coming up, the motto was, listen, you gonna get it where you show out at.
For sure.
You ain't gonna show out and win Dixon, then you gonna get whooped at home.
For sure.
No, you show out and win Dixon.
For sure.
You gonna get it and win Dixon.
For sure.
And so we're not thinking about the impact of that. We just trying to make sure that this don't happen again.
For sure. My stepfather's like he's like 71, 72. So that's the era.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm
no doubt.
saying?
No doubt.
That's how he grew up. And he grew up with a strong, you know what I'm saying, with a steel fist.
Yeah, yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And that's how he parented me.
Wow.
With an iron fist. And he was a police officer. You know what I'm saying? So he saw everything.
So y'all relationship, not only is your relationship with your father is strained now with your stepfather because of what happened.
Because of what happened when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so and at the same token, I had my cousin, my auntie Marcy, my uncle Bill. I always in the back of my head, it was always man, he ain't your father.
Yeah, he ain't your daddy.
You know what I'm saying? He ain't your daddy.
Yeah,
He shouldn't.
You ain't gotta listen to him.
He shouldn't be beating you like that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
You
Oh,
shouldn't
yeah.
be getting no spankings like that.
Yeah.
Like he ain't your daddy. You ain't gotta listen to him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Gotta
saying?
listen to him.
And it was really from my cousins. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
of
saying?
course.
Because they all had their fathers
In their life.
in their lives
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that, and I didn't have mine. So it kind of got tumultuous, at a younger age. So at about the age of 13, I ran away from home. I packed up my stuff. Me and my stepdad got into it. I called my dad. I got a hold of my aunt, and she got a hold of my dad. And that night, I told my dad, "Hey man, you gotta find me. You gotta give me a ticket, man. I gotta go." You know what I'm saying? I got beat pretty good that day, that night.
Yeah.
And I told him, man, I gotta go. Call my aunt, and I was like, "Hey, I don't care what happens. I gotta leave here."
Yeah. So
You
was
know?
it so when you were getting whooped
Mhm.
and were there like any conversations that went with that afterwards?
Nah, it was
But
never a
it just-
conversation, man. It was you
unless
get
you
your
got in
butt-
trouble, you gonna get
Yeah,
whooped.
you gonna get this.
No, nothing.
No.
Yeah,
It wasn't no.
yeah.
It wasn't no.
This is why I did it.
Nah, it wasn't
None
no
of that.
conversation.
There
Period.
was no conversation.
Because again, he was 70s.
He was 70.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like a 60s, 70s baby.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
back then,
Yeah, yeah.
it wasn't no conversation.
no
It
conversation.
was do what
Do
I
as I
say,
say.
and not as I do.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And
Which I always say that never work. Do as I say and not as I do, because people normally they're gonna follow what they see.
right.
So let me ask you this: so because of the relationship, so now you're getting older.
Mm-hmm.
You got a you have a tumultuous relationship.
Mhm.
You know what I mean with your stepfather, your
Your
biological
uh-huh.
father. Y'all okay?
Mhm.
So did that create anything in you when it came to men? Were you ever, were you ever, because sometimes, when you're younger and you don't have the right people around you, right, and they're disciplining you out of anger or they're disciplining you, because this is what I say, and they're not being sensitive to you as a person, because you got to know who to beat, you got to know who to talk to, you got to know who to put on the punishment, right? And so you can't treat everybody the same way, right? So having these relationship with these men, did it cause you to be like rebellious to men?
So
Did you feel it? Did you feel it?
So
At least about authority of men.
So, no, I've always been when it comes to authority, because my dad was in my biological father was in the military, and my stepfather was authoritative.
Okay.
So I've always been like real docile when it comes to
Okay.
authority.
Authority.
You know what I'm saying? Because I always knew right from wrong. And I never wanted to. I've had plenty of cousins and family members in the streets and getting in trouble and stuff like that. So authority has never been my issue. My issue has been relationships with other men.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That included?
Right.
Yeah.
It's been my personal relationships with other men. Friendships with other men. You know what I'm saying? Not
That was difficult?
very difficult
Okay.
for me.
Also,
what I'm
like,
saying?
you didn't want to get close.
Standoffish.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Standoffish. Didn't really want to get close to people. And to be honest with you, and this is gonna sound crazy, but you were like my first male influence.
Oh man.
You know what
There
I'm
you go.
saying? Like you coming to church, being around you, talking to you. You were like my first interaction, like feeling like I could confide in you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Make yourself vulnerable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, being able to talk to you and stuff
Mhm.
like that. That was my first time, because in the military you don't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
You're weak if you do
right,
that.
right. You ain't doing that in the military, right? So, and every time I went to Iraq or Afghanistan, like it was you couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
it was like you're not gonna do that because you got to think, man. These is 18, 19-year-olds just like you, so they don't know no better either.
Oh, yeah.
You
No
know what
doubt.
I'm saying?
No doubt.
And then the people that were older, now that I'm older, the people that were in charge of us at that when I was in the military, they were around the age that I was. You know what I'm saying? I was at 20 some years old. I still didn't know no better. I was still trying to figure out myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and they were in charge of 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
And they was about 25. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
my first real interaction with somebody and being able to relate or being able to conversate with someone or being open with someone was with you.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? And
Never
that was, and at that point I was probably like 25, 26.
Wow.
You know
So as you moving up, interacting with men before you and I met, as you interacting, did you see things to validate what you felt about having a relationship with men? Did you see other men that recognized that you thought that you were able to see your father and your stepfather through?
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely,
And they
for
acted
sure.
away, and it validated what you thought.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
so you saw extensions of them
For
away
sure,
from home.
for sure.
And so I can
For
imagine
sure.
that caused you to be even more standoffish.
Yeah, for sure.
Because,
Especially
like,
when
you acting like my daddy.
For sure. It was
Wow.
like that. Especially when, you go to the military, you know what I'm saying? Especially then you in the military and you think you grown.
Yeah, no
You know
doubt.
what I'm saying?
No
You
doubt.
and you are grown.
You are grown.
You're an adult at
Yeah,
that
you're
point.
adult baby.
Right, you're an adult baby at that point. So, you know what I'm saying? And then you got people, being still trying to be in control of your life.
Yeah.
And the things that you want to do and things that you want to say. You think you want to do one thing, but you really need to be doing something else. You know what I'm saying? You still got that iron fist over you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I said, I didn't really have a lot of relationships, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like I was real promiscuous at that point in my life too. So I wanted more female.
You're trying to feel something.
Yeah. I wanted more female relationships.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I ain't really rock with a lot of dudes.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because of that.
Wow. And I know you said something that earlier, before you because this just jumped out at me.
Uh-huh.
Before you went to the military, right?
Mhm.
I heard you say that you was in you played sports, you
Mm.
got in trouble,
Mhm.
right? And so now you get in trouble. And we'll talk about that.
Okay.
You getting in trouble
Okay.
and not being able to play baseball no more.
Correct.
And then on top of that, to add insult to injury, you going to be a part of something that somebody that you got a broken relationship with, they did.
Correct. I was forced, man.
Yeah, you was forced.
I was forced. It was
Yeah.
I ain't had no option. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was a doing fine type of kid in school, and you know what doing fine means.
Doing fine what?
Doing fine in school. Those was my grades.
Those
D's and F's.
D's and F's. You're doing.
Yeah, I was doing fine in school.
Hey, man.
So I was a doing fine type of kid in school.
Yeah, but listen, man, we're gonna take a break real quick, man. We'll be back. Purpose Over Pain podcast. Y'all want to do the commercial? No, we good. Okay. Yeah, we're back. Purpose Over Pain podcast. I'm here with our guest, Maurice Miller, Groom Therapy. I'm sorry, Groom Therapy. Man, listen, we were talking about you going into the military and your relationships with other men in the military. And then, and I tried to go back to the point where you, when you got in trouble, at that moment when you got in trouble, do you trace that back to what you was feeling? Were you searching for something? What happened when you got in this trouble?
Man, I was trying to be cool, man.
Trying to be cool, trying to fit in.
Yeah, trying to fit in.
Trying to fit
you know
in,
what I'm saying?
as we all do.
My cousin was the cool kid.
He was a cool kid.
You know what
Trying
I'm
to
saying?
follow him.
Yeah, my cousin was the cool kid.
Yeah.
And, I went to school with my sister and my cousin, and they were the cool kids, and I was like the lame duck.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? The pimple-faced little boy.
Yeah. Go do this. Go do that.
Right,
Yeah, fit in.
right.
You get in trouble.
Right.
You play baseball. You lose.
I play baseball.
You lose
my
your
baseball scholarship.
You lose your baseball scholarship. And then like when that happened, were there any men around when that happened to Or you was
No, man, I was by myself.
by
man.
yourself at that
You
time.
know, my
Yeah.
dad, my mom, and my dad, man. Me, my mom, and my dad, man. I got in trouble. My cousin, I was driving. My cousin had a Lincoln Mark 8, and it's my uncle's car. And when I graduated from high school in 2001, we had something called senior drive around.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove my cousin's car. My uncle giving my cousin a car. I drove his car around the school, and we had senior ditch day that same day. And it was raining, and we were going to the beach. And I lost control of the car, wrapped it around the telephone pole, racing.
Racing.
You know, racing one of my boys had a Lincoln Town car.
Wow.
Racing him. I'm trying to be slick. I'm thinking that I can get this car out of these people's yard. But a little did I know, I had totaled the car,
you
wrapped it
totaled the
around.
car. That's not young, just not thinking.
Yeah. So I tried to lie to the police officer.
Wow.
Police came. You know, I almost killed myself. You know, police came. You could see the skid marks in the road, obviously, because it was racing and it was raining.
Of course.
Right?
They trained to know this.
Right. Right. So accident happens, trunk flies open. In the trunk. It's a bunch of bottles of alcohol inside the car, but it's about 6 pounds of marijuana in the trunk of the car.
Oh wow. Oh, he got the funk in the trunk.
Yeah. So there's marijuana in the trunk of the car. So obviously, you know, they had rights to search the vehicle.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, so they searched the vehicle.
You gave them the right. You gave them the right.
You know, I was 18.
Yeah.
You know, they had the right to search the vehicle. They searched the vehicle. I told the police officers, I said, man, before you put me in this police car, man, let me make my phone call. Because I knew I'd get a phone call. I said, but before you put me in this police car right now, man, let me make a phone call. And he was like, well, who do you need to call? I said, man, I need to call my dad right now.
Wow.
I need to call my stepdad right now. He was like, well, who is he? And I was like, well, he's a Gary police officer. He was like, well, I'm going to dispatch him.
Wow.
And so they dispatched my stepdad. And at the time, he was working in the Gary Police Department motor pool. Okay. He was the chief of the motor pool. So when I said his name to the other police officer, he was like, "Feel strong?" I was like, "Yeah, that's my dad." He was like, "Oh, he's gonna be pissed." And then he was like, "I'm not gonna put you in handcuffs. I'm gonna just dispatch you. I'm gonna put you in the back of the car."
Yeah.
So
you ain't gonna see that nowadays.
He pulled him. He pulled my dad pulled up. My dad's best friend. His name is Bogard. God rest his soul. His name is Bogard. He pulled up too. And I'm talking about. So we were in a whole nother county. You know, I was in a whole nother county. So we're like Orange Park in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So it took him. Man, I'm gonna say
it seemed like forever.
Oh no! It took him probably like 10 minutes.
Oh
man.
really?
Well, he popped up fast.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Lights and sirens and everything, right? So he pulled up fast, man. So I'm sitting in the back of the car, man, and the guy said, "Oh, Phil, hey, how you doing? I ain't seen you since the academy." I was like, "Oh man."
He can't.
So they had went to the academy together as teenagers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they went to the academy together as like young guys. So he's like, "Yeah, man, I got your son, man. What you want? What you want to do?" And he was like, "Man, tell me what you want to do." He was like, man, so I gotta, you see what's going on.
Oh yeah.
You know,
there's too much going on.
We gotta do something here. We gotta do something here. He's like, well, he got to go before Judge Johnson, because in the county, you go before the judge in the county.
In the county.
So he's like, he's got to go before Judge Johnson, and he was like, "You remember Johnson, don't you?" And I was like, he know the judge,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I know Johnson."
Your stepfather, he real important now,
right? Yeah, I know Johnson. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna give him a call." So they ended up taking me down. Obviously, I went down. Went before him a week and a half later. At that time, obviously everything hits the news.
Yeah.
and Howard declined, rescinded their offer
Oh wow. So
for
you had a
baseball.
scholarship to go to Howard for
Yeah,
baseball.
I had Howard and Tulane University.
Oh wow. Wow.
They rescinded their offer
Okay.
for baseball because of that.
Wow.
And
So you get past that and it's
yeah, I get.
So how was that? How was that conversation with you and your stepfather, who never really used to talk to you?
Man, dog, that was a cold day right there,
Yeah.
man. Because my mom was she was in the Navy at the time. She was stationed in Great Lakes, Illinois, so she would come home on the weekends, and I would stay with my stepdad during the week. So he was his buddy. I didn't even ride back.
Wow. You didn't want to get in the car with that?
No,
joke?
I ain't getting in the car with him, man. 'Cause I ain't getting in the car with him. I got in the car with his buddy, and his buddy came in the house, followed me on in the house.
He trying to
follow
coach
him
you all
on
the
in the house. He said, "You go to your room.
You go to your room.
You go this way.
You go this way, because this joker finna kill you."
Yeah,
Wow.
man. So he stayed there that night and all, man, because he knew my dad was gonna kill me.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Wow.
So and me and him now, we laugh about that. You know what I'm saying?
You and your stepfather.
Me and my stepfather
Okay.
laugh about that now,
Yeah.
because he was like, "Yo, I was gonna."
Wow.
It was over for you, buddy.
So
You know what I'm
so
saying?
when you make the jump to go into the military, you know, did you and him have a conversation even then about the military? Or it was something that you made a decision to do? Did you check with your father?
No decisions. I had no rights and no decisions that were made. It was, you go to the military, you're going to jail.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That was the option they gave.
It was one of the options.
Okay.
Like,
So the system gave you that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom, and my dad.
Wow. That should be true. That should be something that do now.
They did it back then for sure.
Yeah.
And my mom and my dad was like, "Hey, he's enlisting to the Navy."
Okay.
When I went to court, they was like, "Hey, he's listening to the Navy." The judge was like, "Okay, well, we're not gonna put this on your record. You got to be gone in
X amount of
48
time.
hours."
Wow.
So I was gone.
Wow. Wow.
I was heading to Great Lakes.
Wow. So now you off in the military. You're dealing with men that remind you of your father and your dad.
Yep. For sure.
You're just trying to navigate through
Life.
that.
Yep.
You know, was there any time during that time? I know you said that once you and I met, you opened up a little bit. But were there ever a time that you made a conscious decision, like, listen, I got to get past this because it's affecting how I do stuff? Or did it? Did it affect?
It never dawned on me, to be honest with you, until I'm sitting right here.
That's what this podcast for, man.
You know what I'm saying? Honestly, it never came to me until we're sitting here talking about this. I know I always said that I was going to be a better father than my father was. You know, I think that is what came out of it.
Yeah.
That situation for me.
Normally it is.
You know, I know I said I was going to be a present father for my kids. I also knew that I said that I wasn't going to treat or mistreat if I had stepkids. I was never going to mistreat them, and I was always going to be there for them.
Wow.
But, you know, now that I'm older, I realized that my stepfather, he was only doing what he knew.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Now that I'm older, and our relationship got a lot better. You know what I'm saying? And I love him to death. It's awesome, man.
What his name?
Phil Strong.
Phil Strong. Shout out, Mr. Phil.
Yeah.
Phil is my father.
Phil is my father for sure.
Yeah, but that's a good. I mean, it's a good thing. You know, a lot of times, you know, the Bible says seed produces after his own kind. A lot of times, people are doing what they've seen other people do.
For sure,
right? And because that's all they know. That's the example that they've had. You know what I mean? And they're just doing those things, and they feel like because they turned out to be a good person. See, some people, unfortunately, they define success as they find success as they find success as, I make money. I got this, I got that, you know what I mean? So I turned out all right. Right. And so they look at the outward things, but they never even think about like what happened, what did it do to me mentally? How did it, mess with me emotionally? You know what I mean? And so you being, older, you finally getting to the place where, you need to having that conversation with yourself that I ain't gonna be that type of dad.
Right.
Were there any experiences, because sometimes our audio and our video don't match, right?
Ooh,
were there any experiences as you began to raise your own kids and you start seeing something that you operated in, that your father operated in, that you said that I ain't gonna do?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Tell me about
All the
that.
time, man. Fussing,
yeah.
fussing and cussing and
Yeah.
all.
See, that's why
and spanking and all that stuff.
That's why the Bible tells us, it says for us not to judge a matter before it's time.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the Bible says
Yeah.
also don't lay hands on no man suddenly. That means that, a lot of times we are quick to speak on something.
Right.
That we don't know. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's why the Bible also says study to be quiet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because a lot of stuff, man, that we talk about, I ain't gonna never do this. I ain't gonna never do this. I ain't gonna never do that. And then we find ourselves, to your point, like now you're a father now.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I'm
sure.
saying? Now you say, I ain't gonna never talk to my kids like that. And then you like, oh Lord, I just said the same thing.
Yeah. I find myself doing that all the time,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Where I had to catch myself, man, and reel myself back in, man, because
You was acting just like.
Cause I'm feel strong, you know what I'm
Feel
saying? At the
strong.
same time.
At the same
Yeah,
time.
Jesus,
Yes.
yes, I feel strong right then. You know what I'm saying?
So now you start having some type of passion, understanding that what Mr. Field had to go through.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I definitely do.
Yeah.
But them kids, boy,
Yeah, them
they'll
kids,
get you
yeah,
there, boy.
yeah.
Them kids will get you
So-
there.
So was it anything that like shake the foundation, like you getting to the point like, you know what, I'm recognizing that I'm like the people that I had a problem with, right? Were there anyone, any experiences that it shook you and make you think that, okay, then I can't do this?
Yeah, dealing with women. Yeah, dealing with women.
How so? Dealing with?
So my dad was a real player, man.
He was a player.
Oh man.
That not Phil.
No.
Yeah,
Maurice Miller.
Maurice Miller.
Yeah,
Maurice Miller.
my biological father was a real player, man.
Yeah.
He was a real street dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When it came to women.
Okay.
So just lying to other women, me having to personally lie to other women.
So he taught you how to lie then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
This
saying?
is how you supposed to do this.
Me personally.
This the Bible.
Right. Me personally having to lie to other women.
Yeah.
Because I'm around these women and
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
giving me gifts.
They're giving you gift.
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And then I'm going to another woman's house
You my
as
dad
a
the only one.
child.
You my dad the only one.
As my child. Yeah, man. Doing the same thing. And I found myself doing it.
Repeating the same thing.
Yeah, like, not wanting to show that to my son, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But to my older son, Maurice, but showing it to him. You know what I'm saying? So, which created a tumultuous relationship with his mom.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You ain't want to do it, but you was doing it.
But I was doing
like
it.
Paul said, he said, the good I don't want to do, I do.
Right. Right.
He said, I can will to do the right thing,
Right.
but it seems like I'm unable to perform.
Right.
And so, so you have to
Right.
make, and so, and that happens because, once like I said, a seed produces after its own time, after its own kind. And then when you see stuff out of repetition, you see that becomes, he says, that becomes a law.
Right.
Like, this is how it's done.
Right.
Like,
That's how it's supposed to be
this is
done.
how it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I ain't
yeah,
lying, I
yeah.
ain't playing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure.
And
For
so,
sure. For
but
sure.
at the same time, having that built-in conscience that God gives all of us, knowing that even though I'm doing this ain't right.
Right.
You
And
know what I'm
that's what it was for me, man.
So you were able to say that, darn, what I don't want to do, I'm doing. You was able to take a mental note, like this ain't what I need to do.
supposed to be doing.
So how did you pivot? You know what I mean? Because that's a muscle memory.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like doing right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how did you pivot from that and say, no,
Man, it took a long time.
It took a long time.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Going through things.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hurting people.
Yeah, that's right.
Hurting
That's
women.
what hurt people do.
Yeah, hurting people. Not knowing myself.
Yeah.
Wanting to know myself. Getting to this ripe old age of 40, 42.
Yeah, you're a baby.
And
man.
figuring it out.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And figuring it out and being, dealing with the baby mamas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And looking at them kids.
Right.
And trying to say, man, like, dude, I gotta get right. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want you to do the same. I don't want you to recreate the same wheel that I'm
That's
trying
right.
to get off of.
That's
you
right.
feel
And
me?
then seeing stuff in them that you recognize.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because parents recognize things in children that children don't recognize in themselves.
For sure.
Right. And so you can see your kids going a certain way
For sure.
because you their parent.
For sure.
You can see them going a certain way. And
For
you're
sure.
like, darn, did I help create that?
For sure. and hearing it from the other parent. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's right.
hearing their faults
Yeah. So
that you helped create.
So
From
you
the other
became
parent.
so you became your daddy to the baby mamas.
Correct. And then hearing it
And hearing it
from her.
Hearing it from her like your biological father heard it from your mother.
Yeah. Oh, see, there you go. I never put it together like that, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
Hearing it from her, like what really happened for me was Rachel, Maurice and Zamari's dad, a mom, Maurice, Zamari, and Josh's mom, telling me like, your kids this is what you're allowing your kids to see.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing your daddy was doing. You know what I'm saying?
You ain't
Same thing you told me your daddy was doing.
You doing the same thing.
You don't see it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look at what your son doing. He doing the same thing you was doing. You know what I'm saying? And
Was it hurtful to hear that?
it was very hurtful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They say the truth hurt.
Oh my God, man! It's like it goes straight to your heart. You know what I'm saying? like hearing that and then just seeing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And hearing that, but not having necessarily at that time, not having enough strength
to get out
to get that out for you.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
but
Because that can become painful too.
But being off of it.
Yeah.
I'm at this point in my life. I'm past that.
You past that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm hearing it because this is what my son is doing
This
now.
is what your son is doing.
You know what I'm saying?
Getting it back.
Right. So now I'm saying it to myself like, dang, did I create that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I have to say yes. I have to look in that mirror and say, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
you did that.
That's why it's so important for people to really to understand the difference between sin and iniquity.
Oh wow.
You know what I'm saying? Iniquity, that thing down deep. It's down in your personality.
Right.
And that thing has to be, has to be given up, given to God for that to change.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so I heard you say something earlier about just taking a self-evaluation of your own self, right? Like, I gotta make some moves. You know what I mean? As a father, recognizing that, hearing the baby mama tell you this and hearing that I'm more like my father than I really thought. You know what I mean? Was it anything that you start putting in play to like, I gotta change this?
Yeah.
Do you remember when it happened?
Yeah. Maurice was Maurice was like going into playing mighty football at Cougar Park. I invested myself into the park. You know what I'm saying? I started coaching. You know what I'm saying? I started really being there for my son. I started really being there for my kids.
Yeah.
I started really like investing my time into them instead of investing my time into the streets. Remember, I was riding a motorcycle there.
That's right.
I was partying.
Yeah.
I was hanging out. I was partying. I started trying to like come up out of the streets. You know what I'm saying? As far as like the hanging out and the drinking and stuff like that.
You wanted to see something different.
Right. I wanted a better life for them.
Yeah.
And I wanted a better life for myself.
Yeah. And doing that, you create a better life for yourself.
Correct.
When we're being responsible,
Yeah.
With our children, being in their life instead of in the home, because everybody that's in the home ain't in their kids' life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that was me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was in the home every day.
You know
what I'm
take care
saying?
of them, they eat, they didn't know you and you didn't know them.
But it in that portion didn't hit me until Maurice graduated from high school.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he told me, I'm 18, I don't gotta listen to you. You know what I'm saying? So the whole thing for me was, dang, that's right.
That's right. Yeah.
And he went off to Bethune, and I'm praying every night. I'm praying, and I'm hurt, and I'm crying, and I'm praying that he's okay, cause he ain't calling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, man, let this boy.
What he doing with his freedom?
Right.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Me being scared.
You being scared because you know what you did with your freedom.
Because I know what I did with my exactly.
Yeah. And then not only you knowing what you do with your freedom, you knowing what you're doing with your freedom as a hurt person.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
That's a whole nother
Correct.
ball.
That's a whole different ball.
You know what I mean? And so now, as you start finding yourself, you know what I mean? Putting stuff in place, you know what I'm saying? And that's how it is with even, when we build a relationship with God, we start finding ourselves, we start, realizing that, okay, I got to take some responsibility, you know what I mean? And then you become more vulnerable when you do that. You know what I mean? Was there a place of like vulnerability? I know you said when our relationship started, you being able to,
Mhm.
So how did our relationship, which I didn't know, how
Mhm.
did that help you?
Man, so so you didn't know this. At the time that me and you, I sat down, I came to your dad's house to cut your hair.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You used to come there and eat too, but you
I
tell
did. I
that
used to come there and eat. But I came over your dad's house to cut your hair. And at that time uh I had just left center stage. I just left center stage. And we was talking about it.
I remember that
About me
conversation
leaving
too.
center stage.
That's right.
And
I can tell you the exact conversation.
I
What
remember
we talked about.
talking about me leaving center stage. And I had left center stage, and at that time, I think I was going to college at that time. I think I was in college or going to college.
You
I
were.
was at Edward Waters at the time, and I had the kids. And at that time, you didn't know, but I was going through financial issues. You know what I'm saying? I had money, but I wasn't good with my
Good
money.
with the money.
You know what I'm saying? And I was making money, but I was terrible with money back then. So I was homeless.
Right.
See, y'all never knew. You know what I'm saying? Me and my kids were sleeping in my car at the time.
Right.
I had my motorcycle. I parked it at one of my friend's house, and I had my Lexus. I had a little Lexus car at that time, and me and the kids were sleeping in it. And you asked me, your exact words was, "Man, why you don't get your own shop? I know somebody that could help you get a shop." And he was like, you ain't never thought about going up there on the avenue?" I ain't know what the avenue was. That's something you knew. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, nah, I ain't never really thought about getting no shop. He's like, man, you ain't call this number. So obviously I called the next day, and I was introduced to what's his name? I can't think of his name. Tag.
Tag.
God rest his soul. Tag. I was introduced to Tag, man, and God opened doors for me to have that shop, and me and the kids actually slept there for a while.
Right.
Until I got my stuff together and ended up getting my own place, obviously. But yeah, so like that was like my life changing moment right there.
Wow.
My not only was it for myself dealing with another man, you know what I'm saying, telling me, like, trying to assist me, but actually dealing with a pastor, you know what I'm saying, somebody who really like wanted to talk to me, who really wanted to impart wisdom into me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was, you didn't know this, but that was like a very special turning point in my life.
Praise
That
God.
got me to where I'm at today.
God be the glory.
You know
I
what I'm
take
saying?
no credit for that, man.
Yeah.
I had a good example. You know what I mean. And I remember I remember the guy wanted you to be at the shop all the time. Remember?
Yeah.
That's what he was bothered about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I
was
couldn't because I had the kids.
You couldn't. And then I was trying to explain to you why he wanted you at the shop. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Because of the brand that he was trying to build.
Correct.
He was trying to build a brand that when somebody come in the shop, you got 1 million barbers in there.
Yep.
And then, if they walk in the barber shop, you got 1 million barbers in there. That sends a message.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But if somebody walk in there, you don't have no barbers in there.
Right.
And then and that's what we were saying. I said, that's why he wants you
at the shop.
He ain't trying to control your time.
Yep.
He trying to he want a certain look.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And that's the conversation we had.
Yeah,
for sure.
conversation. Yeah, I remember, man. I may be older, but I still got
Yeah. That was definitely a conversation we had.
Just knowing that, man, and so I'm happy to even hear that, man, and just seeing the progression, what God has done in your life, man, just taking you, you having the opportunity to visit your friends. You know what I'm saying? You have the opportunity to be able to see your kids grow up in the park. But I want to move a little further. You know what I mean? Thank God for the success that you know what I mean, that He allowed you to walk in.
Yes,
It didn't come easy.
It did not.
And so I always, before we, turn and get out of here, I always, like to ask this question. If there were anybody who were going through the same thing that Maurice Miller went to, like, what would you tell them at that moment? Somebody who listened to us, what would you say to them?
Oh man, so in my fraternity, I'm an alpha.
Okay.
So
shout out to the alpha fraternity.
Yeah. So it's a poem that resonates with me. It's a poem it's 2 poems that I teach my kids. It's excuses, and it's excuses are tools of incompetence used to build monuments of nothingness, and those who use them seldom accomplish anything. So there's no excuses.
No excuse.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
And then the other one for me is that I would tell anyone is don't give up.
Yeah.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you trudge seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to cry. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as many of us may sometimes learn. But a many a failure may turn about. You might have won had you stuck it out. Stick to the fight when your heart is hit. Rest if you must, but don't you quit. Don't quit. So you can't quit. You can't give
Quit.
up.
I love
You
that.
can never give up. No matter no matter what God puts in front of you, understand at the end of that rainbow or at the end of that storm, it's a rainbow that's coming.
Praise God.
You know, it's something at the end of that storm that you have to go through to get to where you want to get to.
Amen.
You know, you told me you do things that you do things that you have to do to be able to do the things that you want to do.
Better know it.
You know, so I learned a lot from you, and I appreciate
God be
you.
the glory, man.
You and your wife, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I know y'all be on my neck and my head all the
Yeah,
time.
that's right.
Man,
That's right.
but,
We ain't gonna stop.
We
We
won't
won't
stop. And I don't want you to.
We don't stop.
And
Hey,
I don't
listen,
want you to.
Listen, man. If somebody listen to this podcast, they want to reach out to you. How can they reach out to you, man?
So you can reach out to me on Instagram. It's Mr. Pure Perfection on Instagram. I'm also Mr. Pure Perfection on TikTok. And Mr. Pure Perfection on Facebook. And my name of my shop is called Groom Therapy. Male Spa Salon. It's right here in Jacksonville, Florida. It's 811 North Market Street, right downtown. It's a big black building. You guys can't miss it. So that's how you get a hold of
Hey,
it.
listen. I'm your host, Harry Williams, Purpose Over Pain. We thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and go tell a friend. We love you. God bless you. Until next time.
Thank you.